Still serving tables, huh? Guess some people never level up. The words cut through the noise of the Maple Diner like glass breaking. The morning crowd went quiet, forks paused midair. Lina Okafor stood frozen, the tray in her hands trembling slightly. Her ex-boss, Mr. Grant, smirked at her from the counter, loud enough for every customer to hear. 3 years here and still wiping tables? You must really love being ordinary. A few customers chuckled. The laughter stung worse than hot oil. Lina forced a small smile and muttered, "Good morning, sir," hoping he'd stop. He didn't. "Don't sir me like I'm your savior," he said, wiping his hands on a towel. "Get those orders out before the food gets cold. Maybe today you'll manage not to embarrass us." She turned away quickly, her chest tight, eyes burning. The diner buzzed again, spoons clinking, orders shouted, but for her, everything blurred. She'd been working here since her mother got sick, saving every coin to pay hospital bills. Each day was the same routine of sweat, insults, and forced smiles. Behind the counter, Mr. Grant's voice carried again. "Lina, wipe table 6 before the VIP sits down." "Yes, sir," she said, rushing forward, but her shoe caught the corner of a mat. A glass slipped off the tray, shattering near her feet. The sound echoed across the diner. Every head turned. Unbelievable. Mr. Grant's face turned red. "You can't even walk straight now?" "I'm sorry," Lina stammered, bending quickly to pick up the shards. A few customers whispered, others laughed. One woman muttered, "They should hire better help." Lina's cheeks flushed as she crouched, her fingers trembling. A shard nicked her palm, drawing a thin line of blood. She gasped quietly. Mr. Grant threw a napkin at her. "Wipe it up. You're not bleeding on my floor." Her throat tightened. "Yes, sir." She pressed the napkin against her hand, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. Every insult was a reminder of how far she'd fallen from her dreams. Once, she wanted to study hospitality management. Now she could barely afford rent. The diner door chimed just then. The noise seemed to hush on its own. A tall man in a dark suit stepped inside, the kind of man who didn't belong in a place like this. His presence was quiet but commanding, broad shoulders, neatly trimmed beard, and a confidence that drew every gaze. Even Mr. Grant straightened immediately. "Welcome, sir," he said in a syrupy tone, rushing over. "Please, come in. Best seat in the house." The stranger's eyes scanned the room before landing on Lina. She was still kneeling, wiping the last bits of glass. He frowned slightly, then spoke in a calm, deep voice. "I'll sit there." Mr. Grant blinked. There?" He looked at the booth right beside Lina. "Of course, sir. She'll, clean that right up for you." Lina quickly stood, clutching her cloth. "Sorry, sir. I'll." The stranger raised a hand. "It's fine. I'm not here for perfection." Mr. Grant forced a laugh. Of course, of course. What would you like to order?" The man's gaze didn't leave Lina. "Coffee. Black. And let her serve me." Mr. Grant hesitated. "Sir, she's..." The man's tone sharpened just enough to silence him. "I said, her." The entire diner seemed to exhale. Lina stood there, confused, her heart thudding. Mr. Grant's smile twitched, fake and tight. "Of course, sir." When she approached with the notepad, the stranger looked up. His voice softened. "Take your time. Don't let anyone rush you." Lina nodded slowly, unable to speak. She didn't know who he was, but for the first time that day, someone had looked at her like she mattered. She just didn't know that moment would change everything. The coffee steamed gently in front of him, untouched. The man's gaze lingered on Lina longer than she expected, calm, unreadable, but intense enough to make her heartbeat skip. Around them, the diner had returned to its usual noise, but she could feel eyes still following her. The whispers hadn't stopped since the scene earlier. Mr. Grant stood by the counter pretending to polish a glass, though his attention never left the stranger's table. His smile was tight, desperate. Lina could tell he was calculating, probably thinking about the man's expensive wristwatch and Italian shoes. She sighed, placing the pot of coffee back on the warmer and turned toward her section. Then his voice reached her again, smooth and low. Excuse me, miss? She turned. Yes, sir. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit for a minute. You look like you haven't taken a breath all morning. Her eyes widened. Oh, I can't, sir. My boss isn't watching, he interrupted gently. He's pretending not to, but he is. Her lips parted slightly in surprise. The way he said it wasn't mocking, just observant. She hesitated, then glanced toward Mr. Grant, who was now busy barking orders at another waitress. Carefully, Lina slid into the seat across from the man, her hands folded nervously in her lap. Relax, he said, his voice a deep calm that seemed out of place in the chaos around them. You look like you're expecting a storm. She gave a small laugh. Sir, in this place, the storm never ends. He studied her face quietly. How long have you worked here? 3 years, she said softly. Since my mom got sick. And in all that time, he asked, leaning forward slightly, has anyone ever told you you're good at what you do? Lina blinked, unsure how to answer. No one needs to say it. I just try to keep my job. His brow furrowed. That's not what I asked. Her cheeks warmed. Then no, sir. No one ever has. For a moment, he didn't reply. His gaze softened. That's a shame. Because you're excellent. I noticed the way you remembered everyone's order, the way you apologized even when it wasn't your fault. That takes patience most people don't have. She looked away quickly, embarrassed but oddly touched. Thank you. What's your name? He asked. Lina. Nice name, he said, smiling faintly. I'm Ethan. Before she could reply, a sharp voice sliced through the air. Lina. Mr. Grant stood at the counter, arms crossed, eyes blazing. What do you think you're doing? Sitting? While customers are waiting? Lina shot up instantly. He asked me to. I don't care what he asked. Mr. Grant snapped. You're not paid to sit and flirt with customers. The diner went quiet again. Lina's stomach twisted in humiliation. I wasn't. But before she could finish, Ethan's voice cut through, calm but edged with authority. Excuse me. Mr. Grant turned, forcing a nervous smile. Oh, sir, Ethan stood slowly, his height casting a shadow over the counter. You speak to all your employees like this? Mr. Grant's grin faltered. She's new. Still learning. 3 years here, Ethan said evenly. Doesn't sound new to me. The air grew thick. A few customers stopped eating. Even the cook peeked from the kitchen door. Ethan reached into his jacket and pulled out a sleek black wallet. He laid a platinum card on the counter. I'll take the entire bill for today. Every table. Mr. Grant blinked. Sir, that's not necessary. Ethan's gaze hardened. It is. Because I don't support places that humiliate their workers for sport. The diner went dead silent. Lina stared at him, stunned. He turned to her, voice soft again. Finish your shift, Lina. But don't cry over people who confuse cruelty with power. She opened her mouth, but no words came. He gave one last glance around the diner, the kind of look that made people straighten up without knowing why, then walked out, the bell above the door chiming softly behind him. Lina stood frozen, her pulse loud in her ears. For the first time, Mr. Grant was speechless. And for the first time in years, she felt something she hadn't dared to feel at work. Hope. The diner felt eerily quiet after the stranger left. For a place usually bursting with noise, laughter, and clanging plates, the silence was sharp, almost uncomfortable. Even the customers who had laughed earlier kept their heads down, pretending to scroll through their phones. Only Mr. Grant's heavy breathing broke the tension. He stood stiffly by the counter, the color draining from his face. The platinum card still lay there, shining under the fluorescent lights, a silent reminder of the power that had just walked out. Finally, he snatched it up and muttered, "Who the hell does he think he is?" Lina swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. He said his name was Ethan. Mr. Grant shot her a glare. Don't act like you know him. I don't, she replied quickly. He was just being kind. Kind? He laughed bitterly. Men like that don't do kind. They do control. He probably just wanted to make me look bad. Lina looked at the floor. You did that yourself. The words slipped out before she could stop them. The moment they left her lips, she regretted it. Mr. Grant's face twisted in anger. What did you just say? She took a small step back. Nothing, sir. You think you can talk to me that way because some rich boy defended you? His voice rose, drawing the attention of the kitchen staff again. You think he'll come back for you? Newsflash, Lina, people like him don't care about girls like you. Her jaw tightened, her hands clenching at her sides. Maybe not. But at least he treated me like a human being. Mr. Grant froze, his nostrils flaring. For a moment, it looked like he'd explode again, but instead he turned away sharply. Take your break, he snapped. Before I say something I regret. Lina walked to the back hallway, her legs weak. She pushed open the staff door and leaned against the cold wall. The adrenaline that had carried her through the scene was fading fast, leaving her trembling. She took a deep breath, trying to process what had just happened. Who was that man? His calm, his confidence, the way everyone's energy shifted when he spoke. She'd never seen anyone command a room like that without even raising his voice. Her coworker, Mara, peeked into the hallway. Girl, what just happened out there? Mr. Grant looks like he saw a ghost. Lina gave a shaky laugh. I don't even know. He just defended me. Defended you? Mara's eyes widened. And then paid for the whole diner? You better marry that man. Lina rolled her eyes. Stop. But she couldn't hide the small smile tugging at her lips. Mara grinned. I saw the way he looked at you. That wasn't just charity, honey. That was interest. Please, Lina muttered. Someone like him wouldn't even remember my name tomorrow. Still, her thoughts betrayed her. She could see his face clearly in her mind, the quiet confidence, the softness in his eyes when he told her not to cry. There was something in that look she couldn't shake. When her break ended, she stepped back into the main room. The diner was busy again, but the energy had shifted. Some customers smiled at her, others avoided her gaze. Mr. Grant kept his distance. For once, he didn't raise his voice or throw an insult. He just worked in silence, avoiding her completely. By closing time, her body ached, but her spirit felt lighter. As she wiped down the last table, a small white envelope caught her eye. It was tucked under a sugar jar, sealed with a gold-embossed logo. Inside was a business card, sleek, simple, elegant. Ethan Cole, CEO, The Horizon Group. A handwritten note followed, you deserve better. Come see me tomorrow at 10 a.m. Lina's heart stopped. Her hands trembled as she read it again and again. For a moment, the world around her faded. The hum of the lights, the chatter of the other waitresses, everything disappeared under the sound of her own heartbeat. She folded the note carefully and slipped it into her apron. She didn't know if it was an opportunity or a mistake, but she knew one thing for sure, her life had just shifted direction. Tomorrow, everything would change. Lina barely slept that night. The note replayed in her mind like a song on loop, you deserve better. Come see me tomorrow at 10 a.m. She had turned it over 100 times, tracing the embossed letters of his name, Ethan Cole, CEO of the Horizon Group. The title alone sounded unreal, like something from a dream she had no business entering. By morning, her tiny apartment was filled with sunlight that felt far too bright for the storm inside her. She stood before the cracked mirror above her sink, holding two outfits, her faded waitress uniform and a simple blue blouse she had bought years ago but never worn because it felt too good for her life. Today, she wore it. Her hands shook as she applied a touch of lipstick, not much, just enough to look awake. The clock read 9:10. She grabbed her purse, the business card, and stepped out before she could lose her nerve. Downtown traffic buzzed like electricity when she arrived. Glass towers reached for the sky, their reflections flashing across polished cars and rushing crowds. Lina felt out of place among the people in tailored suits and pointed heels. She kept clutching her bag, whispering to herself, you can do this. You can do this. When she finally found the Horizon Group, the sight took her breath away. The building gleamed like it was made of light itself. Tall, modern, and intimidating. The front desk was a sculpture of glass and chrome, guarded by two receptionists who looked like they belonged in magazines. Good morning, one of them said, her voice polite but distant. "Do you have an appointment?" "Yes," Lina stammered. "With Mr. Ethan Cole. He asked me to come." The receptionist's eyebrows rose slightly, but she typed quickly. "Your name, please." "Lina Okafor." There was a brief pause before the woman smiled faintly. "He's expecting you. Take the elevator to the 28th floor." Lina's stomach flipped. As the elevator climbed, her reflection in the mirrored walls looked small and uncertain. Her heart pounded harder with every ding of passing floors. When the doors finally opened, she stepped into a space that seemed like another world, minimalist decor, warm sunlight, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "Miss Okafor." She turned. Ethan stood by the window, dressed in another sharp suit, his tie loosened slightly. He smiled, that same calm, collected smile that had silenced an entire diner. "I wasn't sure you'd come." Lina managed a nervous laugh. "Honestly, neither was I." He motioned to the seat across from his desk. "Please. Sit." She perched carefully on the edge of the chair, trying not to look as lost as she felt. "I wanted to thank you for yesterday," she began. "You didn't have to do that." Ethan leaned back, studying her. "Actually, I did. I can't stand people who use power to humiliate others. And you didn't deserve what happened." His tone was steady but kind, a rare balance that made her feel seen without feeling pitted. "I appreciate that," she said softly. "But why ask me here?" Ethan folded his hands. "Because I'm looking for people with grit. My company runs a community program. We hire individuals who've been overlooked, give them proper training, and help them rebuild their confidence. Yesterday, I saw someone who doesn't give up even when the world tries to crush her. That's who I want." Lina blinked. "You're offering me a job?" He nodded. "If you want it." Her breath caught. The words hung in the air like a fragile promise. "But I don't have any degree. I'm just—" "Stop," Ethan said gently. "You're not just anything, Lina. You've already proven more character than half the people who work in this building." She looked down, tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. "Why me?" He smiled faintly. "Because you reminded me of someone I used to be before I forgot what real work looked like." The silence between them felt heavy but warm. Finally, he stood and extended his hand. "Welcome to Horizon, Miss Okafor." Lina rose slowly, her hand trembling as she shook his. For the first time in years, she felt the weight of her past loosen. As the city shimmered beyond the glass walls, she realized something life-changing. Sometimes, miracles don't arrive with trumpets. Sometimes, they just walk into your diner, order coffee, and change your destiny. Lina arrived at the Horizon Group the next morning before the sun fully rose. The streets were still waking up, the air crisp with the promise of something new. For the first time in years, she didn't dread the day ahead. The letter she held in her trembling hands felt unreal, an official employment offer signed by Ethan Cole himself. Her heart fluttered with both hope and fear as she stepped into the marble lobby. She half expected someone to stop her, to say there'd been a mistake. But the security guard smiled politely, scanning her name on the new staff list. "Welcome to Horizon, Miss Okafor." The word sent a rush through her. Welcome. Not hurry up, not you're late, not you're replaceable. She rode the elevator to the 14th floor where the training office was located. The open space glowed with natural light, and every desk gleamed as though polished by opportunity itself. A young woman in a fitted beige suit approached her with a warm smile. "You must be Lina." "I'm Zara, assistant to Mr. Cole. He's asked me to help you get started." Lina returned the smile nervously. "Thank you. I've never worked anywhere like this." Zara chuckled. "Don't worry, you'll fit right in. Ethan only brings in people he believes in. That's rare here." The word stayed with Lina as she followed Zara through the hall. They passed glass-walled meeting rooms where people in suits discussed strategies she couldn't even begin to understand. Yet, instead of feeling intimidated, she felt inspired. Maybe for once, she wasn't meant to survive, maybe she was meant to rise. Her new workspace was modest but spotless, a desk near the window overlooking the city. Zara handed her a sleek company tablet. "You'll be shadowing the hospitality project team. We're designing a program for small business partnerships. Ethan thought you'd bring a unique perspective." Lina blinked. Me? Zara nodded, her tone sincere. You've lived what we're trying to fix, workplaces that treat people like they're disposable. Your voice matters here. It took Lina a moment to find her voice. Thank you. The morning passed in a blur of introductions and new systems. Everyone was kind, professional, and surprisingly respectful. No one mocked her accent or her clothes. No one called her just a waitress. Every small kindness felt foreign, almost overwhelming. At lunch, Zara led her to the rooftop cafe. The view was breathtaking, the entire city stretched below like a living map. As they sat, Lina couldn't help but ask, "How long have you worked with Mr. Cole?" 5 years, Zara said, sipping her tea. He's tough but fair. The company nearly fell apart once, but he rebuilt it by hiring people others ignored. Why? Lina asked quietly. Zara's lips curved into a knowing smile. He says he once saw his own mother humiliated by a boss in front of a crowd. He never forgot the look on her face. Lina froze. Her heart clenched at the image. Maybe that was why Ethan had defended her that day at the diner. He hadn't just seen a waitress being mocked. He'd seen a memory he couldn't bear to repeat. As if summoned by her thoughts, Ethan appeared across the terrace, phone in hand. When he spotted them, he ended the call and walked over. His presence, even in a simple white shirt and rolled sleeves, radiated calm authority. "How's your first day going?" he asked. Lina smiled faintly. "I keep waiting for someone to tell me it's a dream." Ethan's lips twitched. "It's not a dream, Lina. It's a second chance. And you've earned it." He turned to leave but paused halfway. "Oh, and one more thing," he said over his shoulder. "Don't ever let anyone make you feel small again. Not even yourself." She watched him walk away, the city light catching the edges of his suit like fire. Something inside her shifted, not just gratitude, but the first spark of courage she'd felt in years. Maybe this wasn't just a job. Maybe it was the door to the life she'd been waiting for all along. The next week passed like a dream. Lina adjusted to her new world faster than she expected, spreadsheets, emails, and client calls replacing the sound of clattering dishes and ringing diner bells. Each day, she grew bolder, more confident. Her ideas began to matter. Her laughter returned. But fate, as she'd learned many times before, never lets peace last long. It was Thursday morning when she saw him again, Mr. Grant. The man who'd humiliated her in front of an entire diner now stood inside Horizon's reception lobby, looking out of place in his cheap gray suit and nervous smirk. He was holding a folder close to his chest, pretending confidence he clearly didn't feel. Lina froze by the elevator doors, her breath catching. For a second, she wondered if she was dreaming. But no, it was him. That voice, that posture. She would know them anywhere. He hadn't noticed her yet. He was too busy trying to charm the receptionist. "Mr. Ethan Cole asked me to drop off a business proposal," he said, slick as ever. "We're expanding catering partnerships, and I thought Horizon might be interested." The receptionist nodded politely and called upstairs. "One moment, please. I'll confirm if Mr. Cole is available." Lina's stomach churned. Every instinct told her to run. To hide. But something inside her whispered, not this time. She wasn't the same broken girl who'd once bowed her head and apologized for existing. When the elevator doors slid open, she stepped out and approached the front desk. The receptionist looked relieved. "Oh, Miss Okafor, you work under Mr. Cole, right? This gentleman says he has an appointment." Mr. Grant turned, and froze. His eyes widened in disbelief. "You?" Lina met his stare evenly. "Hello, Mr. Grant." He blinked, his mouth parting as if the universe had played a cruel joke on him. "You work here?" "Yes," she said calmly. "Mr. Cole hired me last week." The receptionist's phone buzzed, and she quickly whispered, "Mr. Cole says he'll be right down." Grant's face tightened. "Of course, he did," he said under his breath. Then, louder, "So this is what you've been doing? Jumping from diner tables to CEO offices? Quite the upgrade." Lina didn't flinch. "No, Mr. Grant. It's not an upgrade, it's what happens when people finally stop letting others step on them." Before he could respond, the elevator dinged again. Ethan stepped out, crisp in a charcoal suit, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Grant," he greeted. I understand you have a proposal for us? Grant's smirk returned immediately. Yes, Mr. Cole. My company handles premium corporate catering. We've expanded a lot lately, and I believe Horizon could benefit from our partnership. Ethan listened, silent and polite, until Grant finished his pitch. Then, he turned slightly toward Lina. Miss Okafor, you worked for this man, correct? Grant stiffened. She was a waitress. Hardly. Ethan raised a hand, cutting him off. That's all I needed to know. He looked Grant dead in the eye. I don't do business with companies that humiliate hardworking people. Grant blinked, stunned. Sir, this isn't personal. It is to me, Ethan said coolly. Because I saw firsthand how you treat your staff. Lina's heart pounded. The memory of that morning in the diner flashed in her mind, the laughter, the insults, the glass on the floor. But now, she stood taller. She wasn't the one trembling anymore. Ethan stepped closer. You mocked a woman who only wanted to work. You humiliated her in front of strangers. And now you come here asking for partnership? Grant swallowed hard, his false smile fading. I didn't realize. You did, Ethan said sharply. You just didn't care. He turned to the receptionist. Security will show Mr. Grant out. Grant's face burned red as two guards appeared. You're making a mistake, he barked. Ethan's tone dropped to ice. No. The mistake was thinking decency doesn't matter in business. Lina watched silently as Grant was escorted out of the building. The door closed behind him with a final metallic click. Ethan turned to her, his gaze softer now. You handled yourself well. She exhaled shakily. I was terrified. Good, he said with a faint smile. That means you cared. Courage isn't about not being scared, Lina. It's about standing still when everything in you wants to run. She looked down, tears pricking her eyes. Thank you, for believing in me. Ethan's voice was low. You earned it. As he walked away, Lina stood in the quiet lobby, sunlight pouring through the glass doors. For the first time, she realized that the girl Mr. Grant once mocked no longer existed. She'd replaced her apron with purpose, and this time, no one could take that from her. For the next few weeks, Lina flourished at Horizon. Every morning, she arrived early, eager to prove herself. Ethan often passed by her department, offering small nods of approval that sent quiet ripples of pride through her chest. The team respected her ideas. She felt, for the first time, like her life finally had balance. But success has a way of attracting shadows. One Friday afternoon, the department gathered for a major presentation. A luxury real estate firm was considering Horizon for $1 million marketing contract, and Ethan himself would attend. Lina had spent nights preparing the visual pitch, clean slides, fresh data, and slogans that captured the spirit of rebuilding lives. As she set up the projector, Zara, Ethan's assistant, walked in. You ready? She asked with a teasing grin. You've worked harder than anyone here. I just hope it's enough, Lina murmured. I don't want to disappoint him. Zara's smile softened. Trust me, Ethan doesn't invest in people who fail him. You've got this. But when the lights dimmed and the meeting began, something felt off. As Ethan introduced the proposal, Lina noticed the senior manager, Mr. Lewis, whispering to a board member. When the screen flickered to life, her heart stopped. The slides were wrong, her designs had been replaced with clumsy, outdated templates. The data columns she'd built were gone. Ethan frowned slightly. This doesn't look like what you sent me yesterday. Mr. Lewis cleared his throat. We had to make some last-minute improvements, sir. Lina's version lacked corporate polish. Lina felt heat rush to her face. That's not true, she said quietly. I finished the final version myself. Lewis smiled tightly. Maybe you thought you did. But this is business, not art class. The room went silent. The clients exchanged awkward looks. Ethan's gaze shifted to Lina, steady, unreadable, but intense. Miss Okafor, he said calmly, would you step outside for a moment? Her chest tightened. Of course. She gathered her files and walked out, the weight of humiliation pressing down like iron. It was happening again, laughter behind closed doors, whispers questioning her worth. In the hallway, her legs trembled. Why does it always end like this? She was about to slip away to the restroom when the door opened. Ethan stepped out, his expression unreadable. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said, "You looked like you wanted to vanish." She forced a smile. "Old habits." He nodded slowly. "When people corner you, your instinct is to disappear. But the strong thing to do is stay." Her eyes burned. "I didn't change those slides, Mr. Cole." "I know," he said simply. "I watched the system logs before the meeting." She blinked in shock. "You knew?" "Lewis replaced them at 2 a.m. last night. I wanted to see how you'd react, if you'd break, or fight back." Lina's breath caught. "You were testing me?" Ethan's tone softened. "Not to hurt you. To see if the fire that got you out of that diner still burns when the stakes are higher." She swallowed hard. "So what happens now?" Ethan turned slightly, his jaw tightening. "Now I give the client the real presentation, yours." He motioned her back into the boardroom. The moment she stepped inside, heads turned. Ethan placed her original flash drive into the system, and within seconds, her true designs filled the screen, sleek, modern, alive. "This," he said to the room, "is what integrity looks like." Lewis went pale. "Sir, I was only—" "You were only trying to take credit for someone else's work," Ethan said sharply. "You're dismissed." The meeting ended with applause. The clients were impressed, the contract sealed. Lina stood frozen, her hands trembling, heart full. Ethan turned to her, smiling slightly. "You passed, Miss Okafor." She blinked. "Passed what?" "The test of character. You stayed calm under fire. That's what real leadership looks like." Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say this," he replied gently. "Never doubt your worth again." When the room cleared, Ethan lingered for a moment, watching her with quiet pride. Lina realized then that this wasn't just about a job, it was about something deeper. The universe, in its strange mercy, had finally let her rewrite the story of her life, from humiliation to honor. After the presentation, Lina became the quiet star of the company. Her ideas began to circulate through departments, her designs shared in meetings she wasn't even part of. For the first time, people said her name with respect, not pity. Ethan praised her openly in front of the team, calling her the best decision Horizon made this year. But not everyone celebrated her rise. In every bright room, shadows follow. The whispers began small, in the break room, by the elevator, at the printer. "She must be special to the boss," one voice murmured. "No one climbs that fast without help." Another laughed softly. "Help? Please. She's probably his new project." Lina tried to ignore it, focusing on her work, but gossip has a way of seeping into your bones. The tone in her colleagues' voices began to change. Polite smiles turned sharp. Invitations to lunch stopped coming. And one morning, she walked into the break room to find Zara and two others suddenly go quiet. "Morning," Lina said gently. "Morning," Zara replied, too brightly, stuffing her phone into her pocket. "Busy day?" "Always." Lina smiled faintly, pretending not to notice the tension. But deep down, she felt the sting. She knew the rhythm of envy too well, it was the same rhythm she'd heard in the diner, only softer, hidden behind corporate perfume and perfect teeth. That afternoon, Ethan called her into his office. "Close the door," he said, his tone serious. Her heart jumped. "Did I do something wrong?" He shook his head. "Not at all. You've done everything right. But there's talk, and I need to know you're ready for what success brings." Lina frowned. "Talk?" Ethan leaned back, folding his hands. "You're talented, driven, and you've come from nothing. That threatens people who've always had everything. They'll try to twist your story to make sense of their own insecurities." She hesitated. "You mean they think I'm here because of you?" He met her gaze. "Yes." The word hung in the air like a challenge. Lina's throat tightened. "Then maybe I should step back for a while, let things cool down." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "No. You didn't come this far to shrink again. Let them talk. The only thing that silences gossip is consistency." She exhaled slowly. "It's just hard. I've fought my whole life to be taken seriously." Ethan's voice softened. Then fight one more time, with your work. Don't explain yourself. Prove yourself. Lina nodded quietly. You make it sound easy. He smiled faintly. It's not. But neither are you. That night, she stayed late, long after most of the team had gone home. The office lights reflected off the glass walls, turning the skyline into a galaxy around her. She opened her project files again, determined to let her design speak louder than any rumor could. As she worked, Zara appeared at the doorway, her usual bright confidence replaced by something more conflicted. You're still here? Deadlines don't wait, Lina said softly. Zara hesitated. Look. I wanted to say something. Lina glanced up, wary. I heard the others talking, Zara continued. And I didn't stop them. I should've. Lina blinked, surprised. Why tell me this? Because I used to be you once, Zara said quietly. The new girl everyone underestimated. I forgot what that felt like. Lina's chest tightened. Thank you. Zara nodded. Don't let their words get in your head. You've earned your place here. And for what it's worth, Ethan's not easy to impress. They shared a small, tired smile before Zara left. Alone again, Lina stood by the window, watching the city glow below. The world outside was loud and cruel, but up here, in this office she once thought was unreachable, she realized something profound. Respect built on pity dies fast, but respect earned through storms can never be taken away. And if she had to walk through envy to reach the life she deserved, then so be it. Tomorrow, she'd face them all, with her head held high. Monday morning came heavy with tension. The office felt different, colder, quieter, as if the walls themselves were holding secrets. Lina could sense it the moment she walked in. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Eyes flicked toward her, then away. Even Zara, who'd stood up for her days earlier, kept her distance. By noon, the rumors had taken new shape. Someone had sent an anonymous email to several executives, claiming Lina had been personally favored by Ethan in exchange for private meetings. The accusation spread like wildfire. Lina found out the same way everyone else did, by the sudden hush that fell when she entered the break room. She looked around, confused. Did I miss something? One of her co-workers, a man named Daniel, muttered under his breath, guess some people don't need talent when they've got charm. Lina froze. What's that supposed to mean? Zara stood up immediately. Daniel, stop. He shrugged. Hey, I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Lina's hands trembled. If you have something to say, say it. Daniel met her eyes, his tone sharp. Fine. You're not here because you're good, Lina. You're here because the boss likes you. Everyone knows it. Her throat tightened. That's not true. He smirked. Sure. Just like you didn't spill coffee on people to get tips, right? The words hit like a slap. The diner. He'd found out about her past. She felt her chest tighten with rage and humiliation, but before she could speak, Zara stepped forward. Enough, Daniel. You're out of line. But the damage was done. Lina turned and walked out before they could see her tears. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble floor, echoing through the hallway. She pushed open the stairwell door and sank down on the cold steps, burying her face in her hands. All she'd done, every long night, every ounce of effort, reduced to a rumor. The same pain she'd thought she'd left behind came rushing back. People didn't change, they just found new ways to hurt you. After a few minutes, the stairwell door opened. Ethan stepped in, his expression calm but his eyes burning with quiet fury. I heard, he said simply. Lina wiped her eyes quickly. It doesn't matter. They'll believe what they want. He crouched beside her. It does matter. Because lies like that destroy good people. She looked at him helplessly. If you defend me again, it'll only make it worse. Ethan shook his head. No. Staying silent would make it worse. You didn't fight your way here just to be someone's target. He stood and held out his hand. Come with me. They walked back into the office together. Conversations died instantly. Ethan's presence carried authority that demanded attention. He walked straight to the open space where most of the team worked. Everyone, listen up, he said, his tone cold and precise. Dozens of faces turned toward him. Daniel tried to slip behind a desk, but Ethan's gaze pinned him. "It has come to my attention that false rumors have been spread about Miss Okafor," Ethan said. "Let me make one thing clear, this company does not tolerate harassment, jealousy, or slander. Anyone caught engaging in it will be terminated immediately." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Daniel opened his mouth, but Ethan continued, "For the record, Miss Okafor was hired through the same process as everyone else, by merit. Her recent projects brought in 2 new clients and tripled our outreach numbers. That's why she's here." Silence. Every eye shifted to Lina. She felt her knees shake, but she stood straighter. Ethan turned to her, his voice lowering. "You don't owe anyone an apology. You've earned your place." He gave Daniel a final glare. "And if anyone still doubts it, they can see me personally." When he left, the office remained frozen for a moment. Then Zara approached quietly and whispered, "He just ended it. They won't dare again." But Lina wasn't smiling. Because behind her relief was something heavier, gratitude mixed with guilt. She hadn't asked for his defense, yet he'd done it again, in front of everyone. As she sat at her desk, eyes still damp, she realized what scared her most wasn't the gossip, it was how much she was starting to need his presence. And that was a different kind of danger altogether. The week after the confrontation moved slowly, but the storm had passed. The office returned to its rhythm, only this time, the stares that followed Lina were different. They weren't mocking anymore, they were cautious, respectful, even admiring. People finally saw her not as a waitress who'd stumbled into fortune, but as a woman who had earned her place through grit and grace. Still, the ache lingered. Late at night, when the lights dimmed and the corridors emptied, Lina sometimes sat by the window of her floor, looking out over the city she had once served from behind a diner counter. The view was almost poetic, glass towers glittering where she once saw neon diner signs flicker. That Friday evening, she was packing her bag when her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan, "My office. Before you go." Her heart skipped, the same way it always did when his name appeared on her screen. She straightened her blouse, took a steady breath, and walked toward his corner office. He was standing by the window, the city lights painting sharp reflections across the floor. When he turned, his usual composure had softened. "You survived quite a storm this month," he said. Lina smiled faintly. "It wasn't the first one." "I know," he replied quietly. "But this time, you didn't run." She met his eyes. "Maybe I finally learned there's more strength in silence than in shouting." Ethan nodded. "You learned dignity, the rarest kind of power." He motioned for her to sit, then reached into a drawer and placed a slim folder in front of her. "What's this?" she asked. "Your promotion," he said simply. "Project lead, starting Monday. You'll head the community outreach division for women returning to the workforce. I believe you're the perfect person to lead it." Lina stared at him, stunned. "Ethan. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he said, smiling. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the folder. The salary was double what she currently made. But more than the numbers, it was the title that made her eyes blur. Project lead. 2 words she never imagined would stand beside her name. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. He frowned. "You deserve every bit of it, Lina. This isn't charity, it's recognition." She looked up, her voice soft but steady. "When I first met you, I thought you were just a rich man trying to prove a point. And now? Now I think you were trying to remind me that I still mattered." Ethan leaned against the desk, folding his arms. "You reminded me too. Watching you fight your way up from humiliation, it reminded me what real strength looks like." The air between them grew still, heavy with something unspoken. For a long moment, neither moved. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. "You know, when I walked into that diner, I didn't expect to find someone who'd change my company, or my perspective." Lina's heart thudded softly. "And I didn't expect a stranger to walk in and change my life." He smiled gently, then extended his hand. "So, partners?" She hesitated just long enough to feel the weight of what this moment meant. Then she took his hand. "Partners." The warmth of his palm lingered as he walked her to the door. "One more thing," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "Whatever the world throws at you next, don't forget how far you've come. You were never just a waitress, Lina. You were always a leader." The world just had to catch up. As she stepped into the elevator, tears welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but of relief. She thought of the diner, the insults, the spilled coffee, the sting of laughter. All of it had led here, to this moment of quiet victory. When the doors closed, Lina looked at her reflection in the glass and smiled. The woman staring back at her wasn't broken anymore. She was proof that dignity could outlast cruelty, and that sometimes the sweetest revenge wasn't payback, it was peace. Down below, the city lights shimmered like a promise. For Lina, the story of humiliation had finally become a story of hope. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in this person's place? I'd really love to hear your opinion. Big hugs, and see you next time.